ang purpose of the article dili gani ma-reach ang goal sa article na
What is the goal of an article?
basically to inform jud na siya.
Information. And then
Disseminate information.
kailangan mahook para kanang the reader can finish it in one sitting. Like mo na ang goal sa
the goal of an article is for information dissemination, right? Why do you need the information to be disseminated?
Basically, sir, it's important that everyone is updated of what's happening in society right now. Kaya para kanang kwan man god, ang akong primary uses sa mga essays kay ang like journalists are sentinels of society. Basically, sila ang first line of defense, which is information, delivering news to the community. So, it's important na ma-deliver sa mga tao ang mga information is labi na when you say politics or like social politics issues. Kaya para makahimo sila well-informed decisions.
Well-informed decisions, right? But let me go back to my basic question. Nganong importante man nga humanon nilang article kay nganong di kung dili nako humanon. Anyway, nakasabot naman ko or I don't really need that information, like just like a computer, a human mind is not infinite, right? I mean, like naman tayo limitation. We also have what you would call bandwidth, right? Kung masubraan ang information, di na ka makinuno sa tanan, right? And there's too much to absorb, right? Like especially now in what we call the age of information, dili na ka maka-absorb in taon sa tanan, uy. Diba? Dili na ka makinumdum sa tanan. Kung if you're going to read everything, it'll take you the whole day and you'll be paralyzed because you have nothing to do. If you want to know everything, right? So dili gud siya importanteng humano nimo ang basang article. Let me give you a theory. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it that the purpose why they need to read the article, they need to finish the article, is because it's not just about information dissemination. It's not just about keeping the population informed, but it's also a business. Media is also a business, right? And that's why they need you to go and click that article. That's why it's called clickbait, because they want you to click that because it's pay-per-clicks, right? So is that a correct theory? Is that why that they need you to click and have a hook? A hook meaning kanang title nga murag controversial or exciting, right? Because if they don't click, they don't make money.
Yes, sir. At the end of the day, ang media is basically a business gyapon siya.
Okay.
So it's important kay ang kanamang gud sa mga news, daghan ba kay mga news outlets everywhere. So like if mag-report lang ka like namang something called the hard news na report lang gyud kung unsay nahitabo.
Correct, yeah.
Pero if kana lang always report lang gyud kana unsay nahitabo na wala siya something interesting, ang imong mga readers magbalik-balik. So ang at the end of the day, imong business dili siya mo work. Kay if imong pautan mo self ngano mo balik man jud kunin mo na may laing news outlet na nag-deliver of the same content. So it's important na kanang
mo na branding.
Yes,
Mo na branding, diba? So there are news outlets. We all know that there's newspapers, right? There's Sunstar, Freeman, Cebu Daily News in the national scene. There's Manila Bulletin, Philippine Daily Inquirer, and so on and so forth, right? So now may daghang newspapers. So nganong mopili man ko aning newspaper versus another. It's part of that is their branding, right? It starts with the logo. I can visualize the logos of the Freeman, of Sunstar, of CDN, right? I can visualize the logo of Manila Bulletin. So branding na siya, di ba? Branding. So would you say nga ang rason sa nganong mabasa ko usa ka article kay bombastic kayong title nga kuan kay kanang sexy kayo kanang murag controversial kayo, you know what I mean? Like for example nasunog, for example simple man kanang nasunog, simple in the sense nga that's a very it's basic news bangan na nasunog, right? Unya paghuman kaning na cause sa sunog, di ba? Na mga damage to property and hopefully wala, pero perhaps na mga na-injured o nangamatay, di ba? Nangamatay, pero kung headlines nako kaning let's just say imahe sa Santo Niño sa sunog sa Tupas, wala na sunog kay Milagro, whatever, right? So would that be a correct way of delivering the news?
Yes, sir. If
Imong sensationalize ba?
Sensationalize.
Yes.
So is that a good thing? A sensationalism, is that a good thing? Or it's just so that they can sell the clicks and sell newspapers and so on and so forth.
If you wanna sell, so yeah, it's important gid siya na murag
Sensationalize
Mm.
mo.
So that is for that's important. You're
yes,
saying.
sir.
So-
If you want to kanang gain na more readers, it's important na mahok gid ang tao.
Mm.
So sensationalism is important like when you're writing an article.
Mm.
Labi na sa titles. Kaya diha man na mag-first you'd read ang tao. So if like imong title kayo murag meh.
Like perhato, like i-dramatize nila.
Oh, i-dramatize.
Whatever it is nga unsay nitabo. If simple not really simple katong
Mm.
gingon kay sunog pero like katong sa mag-mention barog ng nay family nga luoy kayo and then the readers kay makuha man ang emotions as a reader.
Okay, like when you write about sa sunog manggod, kay pwede man siya if mo na ka na ice example ha, na sunog sa Talamban. Ang mo sa marita na sir siguro is kanang mga taga Talamban ra pud dapita. But if when you say na ice sunog sa Talamban niya ang katong Santo Niño wala na dili ra ka ang Talamban daghan kay mga religious people na mubasa sa news. So ang imong popularity na article musaka pud siya.
Okay.
So needs an i-grab ang attention
Pakusli
and
ko ni
also ang
pakusli ko ni
emotion.
girl pa. Pakusli ko ni imong tingog ko na girl.
Okay. Sorry.
Na ini
Very demure man.
na ini message na ko.
Feminine.
Kuan po ni siya Carolinian po ni siya si April Bloom.
Ala.
Kailan ka na niya?
April. Yun sa sir ni April Bloom.
April Bloom. Iyahan ang kuan, iyahan ang radio name.
Okay.
So ang score karon 70 Indiana Pacers, 42 Oklahoma City Thunder in the third quarter. Sus lubungan ani. 7 minutes pa nahibilin hinuon sa third quarter. So let's see what happens. Ang atong takna karon, what time is it? It is now 15 minutes after 10 o'clock. I'm with your friends here from USC Mass Communications. We have Oliver and Christine. Once again, the score is 70 Indiana Pacers. Hapit naman na 30 puntos ang lubong niya ni. So you guys, do you have like a favorite local song these days? Do you have like a local artist ng favorite? Ikaw, Christine, starting with you. What's your favorite local artist? Atong i-shift ang ato ang focus sa local music scene because that's still part of media, right? I mean, music is part of the culture of the city of the place. So unsa may imong paborito karon gawa sa Emeraldi? Na ba kay paborito or
Si Juan Carlos.
Juan Carlos? Oh, okay. What particular song from Juan Carlos and why do you like Juan Carlos? What about Juan Carlos?
Kay I've watched him sa The Voice Kids katong sila ang kinaunhan jud nga batch
Okay.
and then kay nag-fangirl ko ato nga moment.
Okay.
I think grade 7 ko ato and then he's from Cebu man sad good. I'm not sure if taga-Liloan siya.
I heard about that. Murag Tagaliluan na siya or they have
Oo, and
roots
then
in Liloan.
he's very charming and then kanang his songs are very authentic and then like makakuan jud ka sa emotion gani when you listen to his songs. Mo nang ganahan kay ko niya aside from kanang he's charming because of his raw talent. And he's from Camp Kawayan, Team Bamboo. And I like Bamboo.
That's The Voice, right?
Yes, The Voice Kids.
Okay, how about you, Oliver?
Kanang local gyud sir na ako nabunta ka Cebu. Bag-o lang ko nakaila gyud niya kay we had this event manggod sa among department kanang sulyap sa sining and nag-invite ang anang council og local artists and ganahan kay ko sa tingog si Dixie Cruel.
Dixie Cruel.
Yes sir, like Cebuana na singer.
Okay,
And
I've never heard of her. How do you spell her name? Let's look for her.
DIXZEEXIZ. Dixie na Cruel.
Interesting. Unsa may iyang kanta in particular?
Ang kato ako nagana niya ng kanta kay kanang Stupid at ato og 4 I forgot the title. Yes.
So when did you discover her and why do you like her?
Nakuan ko sir kay akon man gud atong during sa Engras ato sa kwan kay part man ko sa Execom sa ato na council is kanang nag sound check sila and pagkadugon ako sa iyang voice, kanang voice na kanang very soothing, na bugnaw jud kay siya paminawon. And like na po siya type of voice na ganahan jud kay ko maminaw. And mo to merg ever since ato merg naganahan ko maminaw sa iyang mga kanta. And pagkita pag ako na ni-perform siya on stage and gikanta niya like anang nag-cover siya og kanang song sa one of my favorite artists which is Nikki. Nag-cover siya og Lala Lost You. And mo to merg na hook jud ko niya.
Let's look for that artist. Dixie
Cruel, sir.
Okay.
Dixze.
So taga Cebu na siya.
Yes, sir.
Well, when I say local, I don't mean just Cebu. I'm talking about the area, the region, or even the country, right? I mean that's still considered local in many ways. So when I say local, I mean Cebu, Visayas, Mindanao, and Pilipinas, like everybody. So that I think that's in that exact order. So when we play music, we usually look for atong mga silingan atong unahon, di ba? Ang atong mga taga diri, di ba? Taga Cebu, taga Visayas, taga Mindanao, niya pa taga Pilipinas, taga Luzon. So that's asam ka magsugod kinsa may magtinabangay di ang mga silingan like I always love to say, di ba? Sakto man ko, di ba? Am I correct? Nga kinsa man magtinabangay una, ang mga silingan nagyo, di ba? Start with your own backyard, right? So akong pangutana ba ani ba is, do you think nga how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking you? Christine, how old are you?
24.
24 and
21.
People your age, mga in their 20s, are you still predominantly consuming music and other art forms nga gikan sa gawas from the United States, from musicians from the United States, from Europe, from maybe Korea or whatever? Let's talk about this on a personal level, and let's also talk about inyong mga classmate, inyong mga silingan. Kaning are they more supportive of local artists as we define it, or they're still mostly consuming foreign artists? Starting with you, Christine, and maybe you can explain to us from your perspective as a media student of USC, why or why not? Go ahead.
I think they're more leaning on the foreign artists.
Okay, mga foreigner ilang ganahan.
Oo, okay.
Ano man na?
I think because kung unsa ang ilahang like tan-awon sa TV, most of ilang songs nga maganahan. And I think sa ako lang yung experience sa
Okay.
kay if sample support local kuno per ingnan ka ay Digimon mo na nga kan.
What I know what Digimon is, but why do you think they consider it Digimon? Because unsa man like bati pagkahimo kay binisaya unsa man like,
we had a playlist sa akong mga friends like
Okay.
among ingon sample magplay mi sa Spotify mo ako ay di ba ni socially unacceptable music man ni akong mga
socially
playlist.
unacceptable.
Yes.
Are you just saying that in jest, or do you really mean it's socially unacceptable? What does that even mean? Socially unacceptable music. What does that mean?
Like people kanang say it's trashy and it's not nice. Very controversial kani kang skusta nga songs.
What was that?
Skusta.
Skusta.
Skustakli, sir.
Skustakli.
Yeah.
What about?
Like he's not a good person, a good boyfriend, and then
He's not a good person, a good
Oh,
boyfriend.
then judgy iyang characters sir ba, but kanang his songs are fire and lit. So like we listen it secretly, like there's a trend di ba sa TikTok nga kanang
Have a been
no
noon?
kanang like you listen to Skusta Klee songs secretly.
Okay.
Guilty pleasure.
Kay
na.
guilty pleasure kay banger. Then mo nang mas acceptable mong good if foreigner kay mga artist or songs kay Laisyo daw. Oh, ingana.
So wait.
And
So
very
you're talking about two different things now. Dili sila ganahan ni Kastakli because ang iyahang character is iffy, di ba? But ganahan sila og foreigner kay Laisyo. What if the foreigner artist is the same character as Kastakli? Ganahan sila kay Laisyo or they're gonna see they're gonna not see the bad character because laisyo kay in English unsa man pasabta ko nako unsay pasabot nimo na.
Yeah, I think more on ingana kay tanaw ba nato like not all.
Pero nagyapon, oy na ba cancel culture gihapon. Ano sa
Pero
mga
karon na ra ang cancel culture like before ba murag makaingon nga ay okay ra mo na siya kay kanang let's say gwapa or gwapo and then internationally known kasi sa local murag ay pipitsyo.
I so blind, I can't say I'm blind na lang.
Kana. Ingana.
Really?
O, ako sa kwan sa
What are your thoughts on that, Oliver?
lahi
Go
man
ahead.
sa ako app, siguro sa ako apong FYP, sa akong TikTok, is like, lahi po siya, sir, kay, naman ko yung mga artists before, na kanang, shows bad character ganyan, sir, like, itong, sa nato before, na marag, na body shamer day siya, and ang iyang mga songs is like, body positivity mo na yung campaign daw, but like, allegedly, body shamer daw siya, yun, mo to kay, ato na time, sir, like that year, marag, nawala siya sa mainstream kajut, kay marag, gi-cancel siya taman sa mga tao, but yun, kanibalik naman siya. So, marag, I think na forgive. I don't know.
Kinsa man ni siya nga particular artist ang gihisgutan.
At si Lizzo, sir, before.
Lizzo, yeah, okay.
Yeah, kaya to ko before, kay ano daw, kung nga sa Twitter, sa TikTok, na marag daw siya, na ay, allegedly ha, dili yung gigan ako, kasi kanang, na daw ka nang marag, dili siya like the body positive person you thought she was. So mo to marag nato for some time na marag nawala siya sa mainstream, na-cancel siya. But yeah, bakit na siya?
Namo ko na tong mindset nga ang mga foreigner kay they're better than us.
Di mo kay akong take or ano sa kay daghan ang Filipinos kay ang kanang beauty like lasa sa ang standards is very westernized.
Oo.
So when you say foreign artist, gusto gawas gikan, so tanaw sa mga gusto mga daghan ta mga tawa di tanan, but daghan mga tawo gyud mag kuha na mag ay social gini siya kay international good.
Oh, kanang nga sense pod. And may influence na lang ka kay kung imong barkada ganahan nga ni mga international nga mga artist, then ikaw sa may influence ka kung unsay lang paminaw nga song.
Di ba kadugay na kay nastanan nga I wouldn't say problemaha ang phenomenon, di ba? Since I was young, that's always been the case, di ba nga? We admire international artists, di ba? And part of the reason for that is, of course, paminaw ko nga English kay, di ba? Di ba? Part of that, of course, we always blame on our colonizers, di ba? We were colonized for 500 years by the Spaniards, the Americans, and the Japanese, di ba? So part of that. But dugay na kanisang problema. Again, I don't call it a problem. I call it a situation, culture, right? So akong pangutahan na wag yun usab gaya nato knowing who we are as a people, right? We were colonized for such a long time, for centuries. Dili na doesn't the awareness of our past allow us and even ignite us to change, to rebel against our past and say, I love our own. I love local music. Nganong wala pa man ang usab tan mo because of what? Why do you think we have not overcome our colonial mentality in these beautiful islands of the Philippines?
In some ways, sir, marag ang mga tao kay mas nagka-aware man po, like especially kanang people our age, na kanang marag anang nanay ko nang I don't wanna say woke mentality, but like some kind like that na marag socially, like let's just say socially aware na kasagaran sa mga tao. And
Nag-transition naman.
marag
na love ng locals.
nag-start na, sir, kanang marag kanang gi-show na gani ng marag nice ang international na mga kanang mga songs and stuff, pero daghan na po marag kanang marag nag-advocate na gani pod for promoting local yun na mga artists,
Like
mga bini
like naganahan nga kahit kanang P-pop naganahan na.
oo,
Instead of
marag,
K-pop,
nag-start na po siya, so di na siya marag, although big part gihapon, I would say ang kanang marag international influence, like western influence sa kanang creative industry, but nag-start na og rise ang daghang Filipino artists like Elise Morena, Denise Julia.
yeah.
So, are you saying naghanap kayong mga ni rise ng mga local artists that sound very Filipino, or are they just a local version of the very thing that we were talking about, which is music from outside of the Philippines?
The way they create or produce for me ha, very similar sa Western.
So
Kay mo man, syempre, ikaw as an artist, kanang kung unsay uso, you think
Yeah.
nga kanang patok sa masa, mo kuan jud ka kung asa.
Yeah,
nga
like
influence.
news sir, in the end of the day, negosyo gyapon siya.
Oo. Cause if you wanna be kanang known, like, dili lang locally, kung ganahan jud ka mo exceed, kailangan kung unsay sa uso, sabay sa uso jud ka.
di ba kung negosyo la atong istoryahan, isn't it good for you and me and the entire Cebuano community to support our local artists? Isn't that kung selfish side lang ba, kung negosyo la atong hunahuna ba, panginabuhi lang, di ba mas maayo man nga mopalit ka sa imuhang produkto kaysa mopalit ka og lain nga produkto, kay kaning ang kwarta padung ra sa imong silingan, di ba? Kung maadto kag mopalit ka og usa ka butang nga gihimo sa gawas, then the country loses the business in a way indirectly, di ba? So kung negosyo la imong hunahuna, mas maayo siguro nga atong silingan atong suportahan, right?
Naamdo tay crab mentality ang mga Pinoy.
Really? You think so? So do you think that's still prevalent? Like we don't want to support our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, because we don't want them to succeed? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe in some, pero for me, karong nga generation, very kuan na jud kanang we know what's kanang unsa kanang nanay sense, diba?
Pero ano mo, I feel like muna ang kanang ang mga western influence sa mga kanta is kanang mo gyapon siya, like mo gyapoy mainstream, let's say mo gyapon lang sikat good kay mo bahalag like kanang daghan ng woke. At the end of the day, ang mga tao kay nagyapon like deep-rooted na colonial mentality.
Yeah.
Na para nila there's some kind of like luxury, so western na western stuff compared sa local.
I want to talk about a specific word that I've been hearing for many times in our conversation. Kasi balik-balik ang word nga woke ba. For me, kanang woke nga word is actually an import. That's an imported word from the United States, right? Because there's like a whole kaning controversy there. You know, the United States is divided in the conservatives and the liberal, right? And the conservatives are the Republicans represented by Donald Trump are attacking the woke left and all that stuff. So it's like a media war, right? So I feel like imported na siya nga outrage ba, nga dili siya genuine, dili siya local ba. Kay obviously the Republicans are very successful at it because they won the presidency, di ba? So I feel like what do you mean when you say woke? Do you mean like woke as you thought it meant in the United States? And unsa may translation ni ana, unsa man ang woke di ay? Like what does that mean? In this country, we don't have left or right. We don't have conservatism and liberalism. We don't have that. When we talk to our politicians, we don't know what they stand for in terms of whether they're this or that, diba? Sa America, it works because there is the closer you get to the extreme side of the left, the more radical and the more leftist, quote unquote, the ideas are, and the closer you move to the right, the more right wing the ideas are, diba? Kasabot ana, pero when you use the word woke, but do you mean that in the Western context? And what does that mean to you when you say woke?
For me, sir, ang woke man gud from what I understand lang is being socially aware. Like aware ka sa like kanang
socially aware.
Yes, kanang
okay.
Like kanang let's just say kanang
so is it when you use that, are you saying that as a pejorative, as a panaway, as a bad thing, or do you say that as a good thing? Because na wrestle naman ang word. It used to mean a good thing, but in the context of the United States, it is now a bad word, right? So when you use that, do you mean that as a good word or a bad word?
Not necessarily a bad word, sir, but like being vocal lang means man po na you're aware of like the injustices and oppression na tabo around nimo.
Okay.
But like makatawag lang guro siya bad because some people take it too far. Na very tiny na mga stuff.
Far means that you're talking about a spectrum, right? So far from what? Like again, using the U.S. concept, right? We know what we're talking about when you say extreme left, extreme right, and usually it's people who compromise and stay in the middle. win. Like dili kayo sila extremist ba? So when you say far from what? When you use the word far from what, man? What do you mean by far?
What I mean by that, marag na times magud na ang mga like, let's say mga like online personality.
Give me a specific issue lang, for example, that has gone too far from whatever kaning point that you're referring to. Because I feel like, because I hear this word a lot from students, right? They use the word woke here, woke that. What do you mean? What does that mean? I feel like it's probably an imported concept. Now they're applying, like you just gave me an example of Lizzo, right? Obviously, Lizzo is not from the Philippines, right? So in the local context, can you distill that to how you actually feel with the issues of the day in your homeland and not from some foreign place?
Mulat sa realidad.
Unsa Christine? Unsa?
Pila kang more local sense kung ikuan lang, I think kanang mga mulat sa realidad.
What is that? Unsa man ang mulat sa realidad? Is that a movement? Is that a meme? Unsa man na?
Wala na siyang mahugog meme.
So what is mulat sa realidad? Ang in English na niya, of course, is aware of reality, right? So what does that mean?
If example,
Give me an
ang
example.
mga teenagers kanang feel nila kanang they know everything na gani.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it's like a bad thing na noon kung ingna grabe na imong pagkamulat sa realidad. Kanang you think kanang, cause sometimes kay feel nila kabaw na sila sa tanan and then they're better than the others.
Where does that come from? Asa man nagikan ang ilahang kibaw na sila tanan feeling?
Sir?
Akong mangpan katong meme nga kanang yosi tayo nang kanang magyosi og green.
Di ko aware na meme.
Kanang,
Di ko memer.
Magyosi?
Og kana ganing picture and then ilahang picture is nag-smoke. Oo, kana. And then feel nila kanang kuan ngano daw dili i-legalize nga
okay.
So like mo nang i-joke siya sa kuan nga nasa ning mga mulat sa realidad.
Pero I feel like lang sir ang kanang gigikanan sa kanang mentality nila na like they know everything kay we live in the age of information ba sir?
Correct, yeah.
So everything like everything is like digitally accessible na halos tanan. So like more ganang the younger generation is fed with like daghan kay mga information. Labi na ang western influence sa information.
So like pareha sa Thailand legalize. And then like moa sila nganong daw dili legal diri. And then mo nya nabay mo counter kuan nga alangan ninyo huwag imong recreational use. Kay usually recreational use ba ang ganahan para chuy. Mo nang kanang gingnan sila mulat sa realidad. So muna siya nga nga sense kanang woke for me.
Mulat sa realidad.
So like you said more dili more ang influence of one country dili applicable diri.
Nga no. And then kanang kana lagi murag kana
But
usually teenager jud na sir ang makanan sa mulat sa realidad kay kanang kung sa kwan pa kanang sorry for the lack of term kanang pamaymay ba.
Pamaymay kanang murag maayo kayo.
Kabaw na tanan.
Napul ko isang example sir, actually personal experience.
Go ahead.
Na kanang
mo na ganahan ako personal experience.
Ato na tayo ko kaya kon pa ko like very active sa TikTok so like magbuhat ko daghang mga lip sync ang katon na music na akong gigamit is not sure kanang the N-word. Wala akong gisi ang N-word. Like kanang wala ko rin niya gi-finish guro ang tibok video kaya katong ato na part nagsayo-sayo naman lang ko wala naman ko nag-lip sync. Mo to kay sa comment kay nag-rant siya about ngano daw ko nag-N-word everything niya. Wala jud ko kay nagsayo-sayo na ko to na part.
Pero na N-word sa song.
Ang sa song na N-word. Pero wala ko ni ingon. Wala na ko gi-lip sync.
What minus one? So the N-word was never spoken or sang.
It's nasang siya sa song sir but wala ko personally wala ko ni lip sync.
But what I mean in the video ba, in the clip?
Yun madong siya sir.
For example, kanang N-word ba? Diba? That stands for nigger, right? Sakto ba ko nigger? Kanang nigger, like we don't really have that problem, right? I mean, we never had racists against African Americans, or do we have a racist problem in the Philippines?
Lahi ang
Tanaw nimo like
meaning sa
Lahi o gudang
or problem or issue.
kay sa Amerika, di ba?
Racism man sad ta.
Yeah, we maybe but do we also have that racist problem against the dark-skinned people?
nga
Because do we have that ba?
Like
You feel like also like
Yes,
you
sir.
guys are from USC, right? Let's just maganisay lang tagod like sa USC, di ba? That's a big school, that's a big university, and I see a lot of Africans there, di ba? They come kay mga Nigerian, mga other nationalities who go to school there because that's a great educational institution, right? So do you feel like there is hints of racism against darker skinned people in USC campus? Do you
More like
feel
that.
that?
Feel ako more like not race pero kung dark skin man god like
Ay,
dili
even
gwapo or gwapa or kanang ay mga puti kay mga laysyo mga dato tan-aon ana
this is very necessarily sir sa African Americans good but like
No, African Americans, Africans.
Africans. Nag-consider sir kay daghan ang kwan man god like ang tanaw sa like it's colonial mentality again. Now lighter skins are like favored over darker skin tones.
Okay.
So there's something called colorism.
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 Explain to me kuno about colorism. What is
Colorism.
that?
It's basically like judging someone by their color but like katong when I did my research man good pag grade 12 ang akong gidefine ang colorism kay mo pud gidefine pud sa kanang ni Ayin Bernos
Okay.
sayang kay advocate man siya for morena skin kanang it's basically prejudice for darker skin tones ang meaning sa colorism so kay it can but di ko sure if it can be colorism if like lighter skin if like na kay bias kay ay putiun ka dili ko nimo I don't know pero like ang katong define lang or ato is like ang gi-focus lang siguro sa research pod is kanang prejudice against darker skin people.
I think ara sad mo gawas ang kanang woke nga mentality nga kanang nasa ko na here nga you're not morena enough to be morena and then nato niya na nga kanang I think she's an influencer I forgot pero na siya nga there are different shades of morena kay mo naman sila don't claim yourself as morena if kailang think morena very itarm and then kanang morena noog kanang kay feeling woke na kay siya ba
like kanang morena siya murag lighter shade lang siya of morena
like feel niya kanang katong nga commentator kanang
Was that like a social media comment or was it like
yes
in
it's a
real life?
social media comment
Okay.
then gitubag siya nga
So nag-comment siya nga dili you're not dark enough to be morena.
maragi nga na ang
So
then the answer
who's the authority on morenanism or whatever of how kita may autoridad niya na.
mo na sir wala gyud
mo nang gi-explain nga there are different shades of morena
Yeah.
nga naiuban olive
kanang olive undertones mga
may nga
nana
na so like
napay
muna
ubang
na gawas ang pagiging woke
napay morena nga nagluta tayo, di ba? Di ba? Ano sa mana white morena na siya, ano sa mana glutarena.
nana diri ang pagiging morena nana diri kiniputi naman kamot
sa turok ra
So you do feel nga na ay bias sa lighter skinned in 2025 in your campus. People are more critical. They look down maybe. Less opportunities if you're darker skinned compared to the lighter skinned. Is that what you're saying?
I won't say sa inside campus
Yeah.
well personally ako as like a dark skinned guy kay
So you consider yourself dark skinned?
yes sir morena
Me too, morena
sir morena
Okay.
kay
But if you compare yourself, let's just say to an African, you're lighter
I'm
skinned,
lighter
right?
lighter skinned
So ang kanang mga dark actual Africans in your campus, do you feel now there's a kind of
I
racism?
don't think so wala
Wala.
Yeah,
You don't feel that?
the dresser
Okay.
personally for me kay nabe someone
fortunately mura wala
Oh.
So that and these people that are canceled, they're not really canceled. You know, like they're just said to be canceled, but I don't know what I don't know even exactly what that word means now because everybody just uses it. Dili kam kasa, trust me.
personal experience
dili lang
kanang
tingali like specifically about sa race tingali let's just say
okay di ba they're known nga kanang
like I feel like different later
lahang
Smell?
yes
yeah
Smell?
never gonna
Okay.
a certain odor lang so
Okay.
like ano
Okay.
Ay laha is okay ra normal ra sa ila then as Pinoy
Wala tanana, di
wala
ba?
na anan
oo.
oo.
So like in a closed space let's say kanang bus
Okay.
kanang na aircon ba
Makamantay juga.
Murag muli kay jud usually ang mga tao
Ano na-
like ma-hear sad ako nga ay daghan na nila ko ano sa gay ni ana.
Naman daw nasa una, nakatunang sa kayo.
But tinood yun na siya. Like you've actually experienced that yourself. Nga, if you're in a small space like a bus, for example, with this particular nationality, you can actually smell them.
Yes, sir.
Maganisay lang good. Wamay mawagtang nato kung maganisay lang ta. So you can actually smell them. You're about to say something, Oliver. Go ahead.
Ano, sir, kada, before pag first year na ako sa ko jeep niya, kanang, nato yung mga like kanang mga Indians nag-atang sila for jeep and
Okay.
ang katong usa ka pasahero katong driver nag-talk sila about kanang about sa Indians being passengers kin daghan daw na kanang daghan daw mga jeepney drivers na kanang labi kanang sa minibus daw sa una na kanang dili hunungan daw. Mo to lang
So that is a kind of prejudice, right?
mo to ko nadunggan sir di daw hunungan kay lagi ang smell daw niya pero ang kato sila ang conversation ingon sila na ang karon gibawal na daw na sa kanang I forget unsa to na regulation basta kay bawal na if kanang ang kato sila mga Indians na nagugod kay if di sila hunungan kay na possibility mo report ilang gipang report nila na mga incident so mo to gibawal na gyud daw na sa mga ano
Like mamili pasahero.
So yung tanaw ba? Excuse me. Is this a valid complaint nga they smell not pleasant? Well, I'm trying to be as kind and as accurate as possible. They smell different from us, and that's why murag if you're in a confined space, people tend to palayo from them, right? Would it be the same for them too? Basig sila pud wa sila naanad sa atong baho unya para nila baho pud or we're also not pleasant smelling to them. Do you think the opposite could also be true? I'm trying to inhabit because this is how you form empathy, diba? You try to inhabit the other side, right? So sila tan-aw nimo kung you're them, galingkod ka sa small space like a bus. When they smell us Filipinos, do they also feel the same way? Do you think?
Siguro, I would say so. Sir, kung ang kanila sila, they're in a foreign country. So, like, ang atong culture, lahigid sa ilaha. So, like, based on sila mga kinaon po din stuff, like, ilahi yun, ano. So, siguro kung kita po matuta sa ilaha, napod sila ikaingon about nato. About
As long as kind or like, di lang show ni mo maayo nga, kuan ka nang nabahoan ka.
Di lang ko rude sa naman, yung awayon yun.
So, you've never heard of anything naabot na nga ng point na mag-rude na? Wala pa. Based on your experience.
Di man mo say sila, sir.
Oh. Morag dili sila kaning loud about the complaint, right?
Makita early mo gamay na nag-cover.
Kung mga Pinoy nga
magtakob sa ilong lang siguro, di ba?
Kita mga Pinoy, mana lang. Uhab kayo.
Under the breath lang na murag.
Or say mong tapad ra murang.
Pero dili good magpakita siya outward to the person nga mga belligerent na or kaning violent na to the other person.
No. So kay di man nato malikayan kay laham ng culture kay na.
Di po ta makabuot pud nila.
Respect na lang.
Dili ta makabuot nila.
Kung sa ilang mga nang mamagita lang ko like ang daghang gyud sa Banila Dapita mga Indians and
sa Gulyas.
Sa Gulyas. Mo man na ilang like mo man na anda na culture nila. So like you can't judge that.
You know what? I actually tried to research on that, and nangutan ako. I was reading a few articles online. Does your diet actually affect the way you smell? And dili man like like I don't smell like a hard-boiled egg because I eat hard-boiled eggs all the time, di ba? So ilahang mga flavor profiles sa ilang pagkaon medyo isog man, di ba? Kanang mga curry, mga spices and all of that stuff. Dili kuno na from the eating, it's kuno from the cooking kuno. Like it's really coming from the kitchen ba? Mag-aso niya. Kuan sa lawas, sa ilang kuan sa nina. Ano ba? That's why it's not kuno from within, it's really from
I feel like sa aroma kay ang Indian food ba is like full of spices.
Correct, yeah.
When you eat, nagipili baho, so mo pilit guro nila ang baho.
So kita ba mga Pilipinos ba when we migrate, we easily kaning adapt, di ba? Muraram tag sayon ra kayo nato nga mo atong laing lugar because of our past, right? Because of our colonial past again. It always goes back to that. Nga, nakakita na gud ta nakiagom ta og 5 centuries of different colonial masters, from the Spaniards to the Americans to the Japanese. So sa ato culturally, sayo na lang kaayo ta nga mo adapt, di ba? So adapting means nga imuhang buhaton ang mga butang nga mo blend in lang ka sa usa ka lugar, di ba? So do you guys feel nga if there's a different nationality, a different group of people who visit or go to school in your city, don't you feel nga it is also their responsibility? It's our responsibility to welcome them, but isn't their responsibility might be too soft or hard a word depending on where you're from. Isn't it their responsibility to also blend in the city that's hosting them? And what do you think of that?
Ako mo, personally, muna akong hot take. Like, nag-chika mi I forgot kinsa ta akong ka-chika. Kay nag-talk jud mi na about smell. And then, yan ako nga, lagi, let's say, ilahang culture, di sila mag-dio or kay organic, ilahang gusto or anything. Pero like, kanang, di sad niya, since sila may ni-ari, and then di sad sila, like, mauwaw. Like, wala pa sila.
Actually, mo po na, kay Merman Gog na, most of the time baya mo adapt ka sa majority, di ba? So murag kabaw man ka na you're like in a different culture. Siguro murag.
So katong akuan kay ako na to gi-speak sa akong miga kay hot take mo to, then basin ma-cancel ko kay kuan gibig deal ang smell.
Okay. In case you're wondering, unsa atong gisgutan karong buntaga, this is actually a surprise conversation with these two very smart the students from USC, both taking up mass communications major in media. Naghisgot kata karon og a kind of prejudice, maybe even racism. Does it exist here in Cebu? And I'm talking about it from a school perspective, right? And their experiences inside the campus and even outside of the campus. So kato imong hot take, nganong hadlok man ka nga basig ma-cancel ka. What about who will cancel you in the first place?
Like nganong for me mo ba na kanang ang mga tao karon mo ana na nga anong problemahon ang like
gamay nga
butang or like kanang the world will continue, dili na siya ingon something.
I don't know if you're aware of this.
Must stop.
That phenomenon, I forgot what the phenomenon is called. I think this was authored by Steven Pinker, a historian and I think he's a linguist. Nag-ingon siya nga in one of his books nga ang kalibutan ko no kung magkagamay og if we begin to solve the world's biggest problems, even if a world does not have any problems, ang mga problema mo persist gyapon. So ang mga problema magkagamay, meaning to say kanang gitawag lang first world problems, di ba nga ang wa koy gasolina sa akong helicopter da whatever, right? And stuff like that, right? So maski unsa kuno ka progressive ang usa ka lugar, ang mahitabo lang kuno ana is ang mga butang nga gagmay kay tanan i-magnify nila kay wa mas lay problema nga dagko in the sense nga it's life threatening maybe. Nga wala nam tay problem, let's just say of famine, of hunger for example, right? Kanang tinuod na gyud nga problema ba nga it has kaning bread and butter consequences ba nga basig di ko makakaon ani, basig mamatay ko, akong kinabuhi ma-endanger, di ba? So magkagamay magkadaghan nga problema masulbad sa usa ka society, magkadako ang mga gagmay nga problema, so ma-magnify ang mga dako. Do you think we have reached that point also nga mga gagmay kay mga problema mahimo ninog dako kay wa na gyud tay problema sa atong society? But for me personally, there are still big problems out there that we need to solve. So why sweat the small stuff? I'm curious. It is a statement, and also perhaps if you want to answer some of the questions or comment on what I said, feel free to do so.
Siguro Kay ganahan man ta mo.
I feel like kanang kwan
business.
ang kanang ang siguro innate sa tao na jud na kamurag problem solver gani na
Problem solver
and the thing po is like ang tao
More like problem finder, di ba?
problem finder nga gahan isolve.
Uh-huh.
Pangita ang problema para solusyonan. And I think po sir kanang tatako ingon oy kanang ang tao kay mukagat og drama.
Mukagat og drama.
Oh,
we love
we love drama. So muna kamurag pangitaan ang problema para na ay lamas sa kinabuhi.
Na ay mas may istoryaan.
Oo.
Na ay magpatibok sa imong puso, mahulog, 'di ba? Nga you get intrigued by something, right?
Mm-mm.
So it goes back to what you said. The story, right? Storytelling, right? Nga kung naay nindot nga istorya, nindot pagka istorya, then mo gravitate ta dihang storya, which makes your course even more important, right? And makes our job even more important to craft good stories, because nobody will listen to us if our stories are not exciting, right? Pero akong pangutana ba, is that, going back to the question, is that the best way for society to have exciting stories? When in fact, di ba, most of a majority of things in life are very boring, very nuanced, very complicated, di ba? Nagingon sila nga mas maayo ko ng presidente nga wala sa headlines. That means they're just doing their job in the background. Kaysa presidente nga naalang pirmi sa headlines. But that means nga he's problem solving here, he's problem solving that. He can't do his job because usually kanang trabaho, whatever position you're in, is kind of boring and nuanced, right, and complicated. And you don't have to understand, and you don't have to know all of the small intricacies of whatever it is that I do. It doesn't have to be a leader of a country. It could be like a leader of an organization. It could be a leader of a company, right, or a movement, right? Like. Does it have to be you need to be in the headlines all the time? Does it have to be you have to be bombastic, controversial all the time to get things done? Is it necessary?
Siguro sir, if ganahan ka, like when you talk about kanang publicity, kung man good sir, like ang parang ako lang hot take na ako. If kanang labi na if you're in politics, if ganahan ka mo continue og serve kani, like genuinely ganahan ka mo continue og serve, doing good in the backgrounds won't do you good. Makahelp yung society, yes, as in ako siya tabang, pero man good, at the end of the day we're a democratic country, and ang mga tao ang mo vote di mo, so if wala kanila makitaan, wa sila kabalo sa imong gibuhat. So mura ang ilang pamati wala ka gibuhat, wa man kanila makitaan. So it's important, like, in a way important pud siya na ma-publicize juga. So, more na ako
Pero supposedly, dapat ang actions jud mo speak louder. Di na kailangan.
Oo, di na mo speak louder. Kana mo echo na ba?
Ganahan mo gud ka nang ma-touch atong heart. Ano, amot.
Gana gi drama.
Because it could be because we don't decide with our brains, we decide with our hearts, right? Right?
Emotionally.
Yeah. We're as one author would say, we're predictably irrational. We don't really dili mo make atong decisions based atong logic, di ba? Or based on our intelligence or whatever. We base it on in our heart, right? So kung for example, di ko ganahan nimo kay nanimaho ka, or di ko ganahan sa imong color sa imong skin, then end of story, di ba? I'll never be able to convince you whatever it is that I'm trying to convince you about. Is that a overly simplistic way of looking at it? Is that true to a certain extent? What do you think, Christine?
Siguro ingana kay di na naman kay prejudice ani nga person or the other
labi na
way
if nang
around.
close-minded ka sir, and dili ka willing, na kay made up na conclusion sa imong mind. So like no matter how much mo explain ang other side, wala naman ka kanina mo gi-think. So bahalag unsa pa na ka kumpleto yang gitabi, basta dili siya pabor sa imong ginahunaw, di jud ka maminaw.
So katong hisgot ganiha bang pinamay panimay kaning what is that?
Mulat sa realidad.
Panimay, what is that?
Pinamay,
right? There's actually a song from Cookies about that. Pinamay, right? Murag magapamaayo, di ba? Yeah, pag human they think that they know everything, right? What do you think is causing that? I actually asked that question, but I want to ask it again. I want to zoom in on that because this usually happens manggod in educational institutions, mga eskwelahan ba, nga mura og because they're well educated, they feel like they know everything, di ba? Usually that it comes from the schools kana mga pinamay. Ngano man nga dili man sila makasabot nga nobody has access to all of the information. Nobody has a monopoly of all information. And whatever it is that you know now may be true now but may not be true tomorrow, di ba? Grabe kayo kakusog ang evolution, everything is fluid ba? Everything, there's a new discovery now. What's true today is not true tomorrow, di ba? Is it the fault of the schools? Is it the fault of the parents? Is it the fault of social media? Ngano man nga daghan makay pinamay diha. Tan-aw nimo, unsay theory nimo na Oliver, ikaw na kay naguba man nimong naong. Unsa mas guba man nimong naong kumpara ni Christine. Unsa kay gamot anang mga pinamay?
Ang sa ako man good sir, ako lang teka nakakais ka ng ang social media kanina sila sir di ko maka-elaborate so much ano but murag na ka ng own kanang standards kanang sa morals get nila sir na kanang murag specifically lang murag social media di ko maka-describe but siya pang social media like internet stuff ganin murag dili siya like sa internet relevant siya but di mo ma-apply in reality. Ni mga and most mga tao na kanang murag kung unsay ilang example unsay kanang giingon online na ay bati na dadon nila in real life balay dili applicable. Ni mga stuff na murag
dili applicable in real life but gidaan nila
murag, sa internet kay murag daghan mo support di mo sa internet ana kutob ra storya ba
like dili nimo like walk your talk.
Murag siguro like in ideal siya paminawon kay tabi ra gud na pero like murag in real life kay murag
dili applicable.
Dili kay siya makaingon na murag.
Do you think have anything to do with what that I mentioned earlier nga imported na atong mga most of our outrage are imported?
I feel like sir na like certain way kay murag now daghan lagi sa mga like kanang kasi mga issues na murag siya western centered. And dili kay siya applicable for us na third world country.
So unon mo kay ta.
So kita na especially kamong duha nga naa mo sa media ba. Eventually you'll be the future influencers, radio personalities and TV personalities and editors and writers of newspapers and so on and so forth. How do you think will we solve this colonial mentality problem? We are importing even our outrage from elsewhere, and the way we look at the world is so far from who we are as a people sometimes, or most of the time, depending on who you ask. How do you think in the future, looking ahead, when you finally graduate from USC, mass communications, media, how do you think we can solve this whole colonial mentality problem that we have in our country? Saan ka na nato? Tanaw nimo. Makatabang ka ang atong musika, atong arts, makatabang ka ang ato ang radio stations. Unsa inyong tanaw? Unsaon man nato pag usab sa pananaw nato sa atong sigatawag sa kalibutan? Do you think there's a way for us to be as successful culturally nga naka-influence sa kalibutan like the Koreans have done, the Americans have done through Hollywood? I would even say to a certain extent that Bollywood has done, the Indian culture. Do you think we have it in us to also help shape not just our world here in the Philippines but the entire world as well? Do you think we have it in us as a people?
I think mo start siya na within ourselves. Pero for me lang jud mas dali and pas if kung kanang mga like organization, mga companies mas mo kuan kay sila.
Sa mga dagong tawo mo una.
O mo take og step. So for example sa music industry and then ang ilahang ipang kanang produce or ang ilahang pangwaon nga mga kuan syempre mga local and then ang mga songs kay kana jud ganing very distinct nga makaingon jud kag Pinoy jud kayo nga tatak and or other companies or kanang mga brands mga let's say kaning sa TikTok nga na 'di ba mga affiliates 'di ba? Oo kanang na at least kanang daghan gani ma-aware ka na daghan na bay kuan ron nga mga makeup brands, right?
Right. Local, Filipino
local,
made na.
nya kanang masupport na kay tungod kuan man siya sa mga influencers,
Ah.
mga kuan gani gi-promote jud.
So basically what you're saying is kanang para to promote kanang in a way para naian ang colonial mentality is
Okay, para
continuous
mas
na
ma-love,
promotion.
and then mas ma-love na to, and then makarealize ta nga we have so much more, we can give more.
Yeah, I think so. Kaya ang Philippines man good is full of very kanang diverse ba kita. We have different cultures in every island mayon ka. And like there's so much of that na pwede nimo kanang madala nimo internationally para manon ang Filipinos, but like again, since colonial mentality, magkagat gyud ang mga tao sa like more westernized na mga products. Pero agree ko sa mga ingon na kanang para siya kanang in a way para mas ma-promote og like ma-lessen. I just say ma-lessen. I don't think ever man ang colonial mentality. But like ma-lessen is like kanang padayon lang yun na kanang advocacy gani yun for promoting the local art scene. Actually, sa muna kanang actually isa sa platforms sa Solares kanang sa among departments or sa USC is kanang sulyap sa sining. So basically it's promoting
Sulyap sa sining.
Sulyap sa sining.
Unsa may pasabot ng sulyap sa sining?
So in English a glimpse of to see the art. Sulyap sa sining ana.
Okay.
Ana, if even translated in English, pero ang main focus niya sir is kanang promoting local artistry. So basically katong first year anang sulyap sa sining is nag-invite sila og speakers sa kanang mga traditional na weaving sir. Katong sa Argao, I forgot what's the name. Napoy ka ng kanang kayo mahimog basket. Ano po sa name? O sa kanang mga cultural na artistry sir, mga gipan para ma-promote siya in a way.
Like nga na gani kanang we have to be an expert of something. Para nang mga Koreans, 'di ba? K-drama noon jud kay sila ana nga.
Dugay naman kay tanang drama go, di ba? I remember when I was a child, man, there's always been like soap operas and all of that stuff. Dugay na kayo ng drama. I feel like nag-una pa kita na. Kaya numdum ko itong bata pa ko. Nato yung mga Flor de Luna, mga Annalisa, kanang mga drama, but it's equivalent to K-drama now. Music, we have been singing for a long, long time. Kinumdum pa ko. My mom would talk about mga amateur hour and all that stuff. So we have been at this music and arts longer than most cultures. I feel like, what's going on? Like, anong gaunam ni sila nga dugay na kayo kanta-kanta o drama-drama diri sa Pilipinas?
I think kailangan jud nimo para sa ila kay drama. Ila jud kanang naadji budget ni nana.
I-focus jud.
Oo, then ang mga
So
tao,
budget ko ang budget, ha? Ha?
Siyempre, ang mga tao, ikaw nga viewer, ganahan ka maka-learn na noon silang language, silang culture, ilang food. So
Correct.
mura kag kanang kay ganahan man kay kuani nga certain artist or kanang sa kaning nga movie nila or ilang drama. So maganahan na lang ka apilo na mo tibuok ko nila.
So bali,
ang nation.
Tagaan nimo gateway ang audience para mo learn sa mong culture.
So for example, kita mag-produce tag mga songs nga very nice.
Very kind of Filipino good.
I think very successful katong anak nga song ni Freddie Aguilar.
Dugay na itong kanta sa?
Like
That was 50 years ago almost.
Siya like nailain-laing version sa mga
Laing
so like kung
version.
nga na continue lang nga pareho nga mangita jug artist nga pareho ni Freddie nga maay kayo mo storytelling sa iyang songs. And then syempre na talent.
Do you see how important media's job is right now? I mean, like you were just talking about the Koreans and how maka-appreciate silang language, silang culture, silang food, sa ilang skincare, right? Nakabantay mo nga importante kayong trabaho sa media because the reason why we have colonial mentality because Hollywood is easily the most successful film industry in the world, diba? And the reason why it's important for a nation to have a successful entertainment media industry is because the world, whoever consumes their media, will begin to adopt the practices, the consuming behaviors of the country that has a successful media industry, right? So kanang mga Koreano, di ba? Nakinumdum ko nga kanang sa tawag gani kanang ilang main ingredient sa Korean food
Kimchi?
Kimchi. I used to hate that. So baho mo nag-ilok eh. Yeah, in the beginning, right? But I actually am beginning to like it. And in fact, I always have kimchi in my refrigerator all the time, right? So importante kayong trabaho sa entertainment industry of a nation, ang media sa mga tao, because we're actually asking them to consume our products indirectly ba. Mo na secret weapon I feel like sa Amerika, because we see the world consumes their movies, then some parts of the world, including us, has adopted the American dream, the way we consume. Lamig yun ang kuan kaning American food or Western food. Lamig yun na, di ba? So do you realize how important both your jobs are? I mean,
Super.
Kaayo kay kanang gusto ka nga aside sa ma-inform.
Kayong gapadagan sa economy. If wala media, kinsay may like mo publicize sa yung mga products. Kinsay ka ng ni Sir Jiggy.
Social media manager,
ana. So kay murag ang importante mo kay information gyud, and that's the job of media, di ba? To inform gyud. So like if wala ang media, kinsa may mabuhat ana.
So natay tigpaminaw og mga viewers sa YouTube, si Ruel Rosello, si Antonio Vidal, maayong buntag niyo diha. Daghang salamat sa inyong pagtanaw. Si Sheena Ocariza, si Charlita Texon. Good morning, Fims Tineps, Leds Lee, Rejas, Alice Mancera, Rosalie Lumakad, and Humawan. Who else is here? Daghang salamat sa inyo ang pag-join. Si Fajardo Zandro. Fajardo, kamusta naman ka diha? He's actually a rider. Magtuyok-tuyok na isa sa Tibok Pilipinas, magmotor. Everyone, if you have any questions, if you want to join in our conversation about college life, and hisgot natakaron og culture and the arts and racism, daghan kay tag na naabtan sa, but it all boils down to what you guys are going to school for, right? Media. And then I think it's important to understand we're all stunningly ignorant about a lot of things. Not because we're not trying to understand things, but it's just that the amount of information, the amount of things that we need to learn are just infinite, right? But we are expert on a few things. We're good at only a few things, right? And I think that's important to understand about us ba. Kanang mga pinamaya siguro kung makasabot lang sila na okay na siguro sila, dili sila gunahon na ang kibaw sila tanan. Maybe you're good at, let's just say, radio. I'm probably good at radio, right? But I'm stunningly ignorant about most things in life, right? Kung inana lang yung mentality ba nga, magtanaw ka og tao nga yung kang buguan niyo, you don't know. Maybe he's smart at certain things. I'm almost 100% sure that person is smart at certain things. Muna siyang nabugo na siya sa ubang butang nga bright kuno ta. Kay wala man siya nag-focus anang usa ka butang nga. Maybe I don't know, maybe he writes the best poems or makes the best lechon, I don't know, or sweeps the floor better than any vacuum cleaner can, or I don't know, right? Pero lain gyud to expertise, right? And kabo kung nanamon mo sa media, I think you have to also pick your battles, or pick a lane, di ba? Pick a lane, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What do you think, Oliver? Is that correct?
Parang ako sakto gyud sir kanang murag mura siya ganang like sa saying na jack of all trades. Like nice man na murag na jack of all trades ka. But I feel like it's important po na kung there's something po yun na kanang
You're an
expert na
like
like
jack of all trades.
like pwede man ka like jack of all daghan ganahan ang ending man good kay murag if ever like example imong i-bombard mo sa like daghan kay mga buhat good. Basin like and then of the day ang imong makuan kay like mediocre ka na stuff tanan.
Because you're not spending enough time on it.
Wala ka ni capitalize, wala ka ni kapit sa kung asa ka kusog, wala ka nag SWOT analysis. Just.
Okay. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Same thing kay if jack of all trades but expert to none man. Kay imo mang ang oras magud if
Unsaang?
if nakay skill
Oras
gusto
or time, do you mean aura or aura your vibe?
oras time.
Time, okay.
So like if nakay certain skill nga gusto i-hone, mag-take mo dyan siya oras. So kay kung imong gi-divide, so muna mediocre jud imong like so lang imong kuan alam ani.
Kaya nimo but like dili kayo na masaligan guro.
So you're not an authority on a particular matter, right?
Nothing else, sir.
So we're talking about two different things here, and it is a spectrum. There's the generalist, right? Katangingon mo nga master of none, jack of all trades, diba? There's also the specialist, diba nga? Specialize nila nga, like specific branch of medicine. It's just a whatever, right? There are specializations. So there's a generalist, jack of all trades. There's a specialist. Enter AI, right? Enter artificial intelligence. Nag-ingon sila nga daghan kay mga trabaho nga mga wagtang karon, di ba? In fact, my job could disappear anytime, right? Because I might be replaced by AI. And many other industries will be replaced by it. Bus drivers, for example. Maybe layo pa na sa tuwang nasod, pero eventually that'll come, right? Akong pangutana ba is, in this new environment now, nga naanatay entity nga will soon perhaps replace many of the jobs. I'm trying to talk about this phenomenon as local as possible because this is an imported idea, di ba, kanang artificial intelligence, di ba? Manigihimo nato, we didn't invent this, we didn't create this. We're just recipients. Like most of the time, recipients and users lang of the technology that the West has invented. Akong pangutana ba, is it still wise to be specialists when AI can easily replace a specialist as opposed to somebody who knows a great many skills and can easily adapt to changes? What do you think is better, like being a generalist with AI, or is it better if you have a specific skill set? Tanaw nimo. I'm actually asking that question because I don't know the answer. Tanaw nimo, Christine. Mas maayo ba nga jack of all trades ka na master of none ka kay because you need to be nimble and you need to be able to know many things because you don't know where AI is going to replace you. Right? For example, kung doktor ka, for example, niya paghuman nanay entity which is AI nga maka replace mo ang trabaho, then you can easily move to another industry, right? So what do you think?
I'd say kanang if I am an expert of this or specialist ani, dili mo sad guro ka very ignorant sa tanan na lang na aspect. So for me, mas ganahan ko na ako'y something I'm good at rather than kay ako depende na mo. Basta for me, pick a struggle. Kung ako kay gamay naman akong attention span. So like
ADHD ka de.
Basin. So ako kay mas ganahan ko magpili na lang ko isa ka faan nga i-focus kaysa sa kuan daghan kay ma-overstimulate ko, ma-bombarded ko dagang information or whatever nga need i-buhaton ana. So I'd say for me personally, mas okay if kanang specialist or expert kaning isa ka butang.
Ang sakwa takes sir kay ang katamang saying ng the jack of all trades, it doesn't end there. It's jack of all trades, master of none, but always better than master of one. Kay kung mga like it's important jud na like para nako lang important siya na kay something na specialize jud ka na na jud authority ana. But lagi sa mga sir na labi na sa atong world karon na ang AI is slowly na take over. If ma-replace ka, at least ba naa kay like basics like basic knowledge
life skills, right?
Yeah, naka na other stuff na pwede nimo mahugutan na pug ato na pud ka like example let's just say ang radio kay let's just say ma-obsolete siya bako. Pero like if like your master or like jack of all trades ka, pwede kang like mo shift into something else na interested ka and you can master on that na pud.
So you think it's safer to have multiple skills, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe not all skills because that's impossible, but many skills, right?
At least basic lang, sir. Kay murag, I don't think you can be a master of like a lot of stuff all at once.
Yeah. And you probably know a little bit about it. Again, we're stunningly ignorant about a great many things and an expert on very few things. Kani bang this whole artificial intelligence thing, but we already people are talking about it in Cebu. Like at least my circle of friends are like it's something far in the future. Like it's something nebulous. Like it's something won't be happening now. But the truth is, it's already happening now in our local context. Right? If you look at all the call centers, a lot of seats have been replaced by artificial intelligence. Kanang trabaho nga BPOs, for example, sooner or later they're all going to disappear because they're going to be replaced by machines because some of their jobs are kanang balik repetitious and rote kay tanan. So mailisdan gina sila og makina og AI. Akong pangutana ba sa akademya ba? Are you guys talking about it in the annals of in the classrooms of San Carlos? Are you talking about it? And are you talking about how to be? Are the teachers teaching you how to be ready with this potential replacement?
Gitalk na nila sa katong master class. Ka remember ka GMA master class?
GMA master class.
Okay.
And then they were asked, they were asked about kanang AI, and yung mga journalists pa dito sila. Then they said nga, mo gamit man sila AI kay it helps them, pero they don't rely on it. Kay they have the skills, pero it will kanang help them kanang ganing mas dali. As long as kanang kabaw lang kamo corroborate anang AI and then sa imong work. Dili lang kamo heavily rely on AI.
Nakaremember ko pag first year, sir, katamang professor, ningon siya na AI is okay man. It's use it as a tool. Dili siya kanang panggamit nimo para mutabang sa imong work. Dili siya supposedly mo replace nimo to work.
Yeah.
Like example, mag-write ka og essays. Pwede man ka magpa-help sa AI.
Like
give ideas or grammar check. Pero ang majority sa content, or like ang content itself, dapat imuha. Ang AI, more like pakapin na lang ba? So muna AI can be used as a tool.
Okay.
Pero dili siya supposed to replace actual people.
You're talking about the classroom setting, right? You're talking about the classroom setting.
In general po, sir, kay lakan po it can be used po as a tool for like companies, like pagtabang sa like pag-organize sa mga sa information sa companies, like mga papers and stuff, mga documents. Pero dili siya supposedly mo replace yun. Kaya may mga certain stuff tingali na dili mabuhat sa AI.
Yeah, the operative word there is tingali, di ba? And number two, we're still in the early stages of the development of the technology, and we don't know what it's capable of. And the way technology improves, it's not kaning it's exponential. Dili man siya kaning ginagmay by small increments. Pag grabe man kayo kakusog nga to ang technology advancement, di ba? Especially in that field. In fact, naay kaning murag prevailing mentality sa Amerika ba nga. They don't plan more than 6 months ahead. They don't have like annual plans anymore because you don't know what disruptive technology might arise within the span of 6 months, di ba? Kita diri, although we didn't create that, we didn't invent that, but we will eventually have to learn how to adapt it, right? We're actually also in a way very good adapters when it comes to new technologies. We're the number one users of Facebook in the world, right? Can you imagine? In the world, like this was a survey a few years ago. I don't know if it's still true, but I'm sure we're still way up there, right? So kuan kay ba kaning it might be too late for us if we don't talk about it now, and if we don't use it now. Ang akong pangutana is siguro sunod is like, are your teachers encouraging you to use AI? Are they discouraging you to use AI?
Sa ato kanang kuan siya, sir,
discourage
siya kanang labi na sa ka prof na yun siya na more good if ma-use kag AI. Ang kato yung mga example like if mo rely ka heavily on AI, mo type ka na bahalag unsa lang yung mo type da kay mo na lang ka fix
prompt.
This sa AI prompt ano mo na fix my grammar kay more man if di na yun nimo i-use na skill mawala man gud na nimo. So ganahan
hawa ang creative juices nimo.
Oo, mag-rely na ka heavily sa kanang labi na sa writing, so need gid ba na kanang na creative jud ka in writing. As you mentioned kanina, need na entertain ang storytelling. So kay if mag-heavy rely ka on AI na to write your stories, dili at the moment dili pa ang AI, dili maka-embody, dili maka-create ang AI o kanang ganing stories or na kanang murag maka hook emotionally sa tao. Kaya murag again, AI is a robot, so wala siya emotions. So ang ila lang ang advice nila is refrain lang gid from using refrain from using AI, pero you can use it as a tool to help, pero dili
like,
yun
fix ang grammar ka na okay ra
like minor lang baka lain pud kay kanang tanan na lang like imong gisulat kay as in grabe na gid ang grammar mo. If normal pa kay like out of 10 kay 2 out of 10 na lang imong grammar. Pero kanang
I'll give you an example of a technology that we have adopted fully. Kanang calculator ba? Iba, let's just say 10 plus 10, right? Dili naman ko mag-ihap og let's just say 10 cell phones plus 10 cell phones equals 20 cell phones, di ba? Dili naman ko mag-ihap og 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 10, 1. I don't do that anymore. I just press 10 plus 10 equals 20. So sayo na akong kinabuhi, di ba? Dili na ko mag-ihap og 20 ka cellphone binagsa, di ba? Ako nang napo diri 20 na siya di ay. So that's an example of simple example of using intelligence in a machine nga gi-adapt na nato para makasulbad ko og mas dako pa nga problema anang napo kabok cellphone. You know what I mean? It allows us to solve more important things because we already figured that out. We already know what 10 plus 10 is. So not bigger problems to solve, maybe more complicated mathematical equations. In the case of writing, maybe it allows you to, let's just say, travel to deeper corners of the world, right? To be able to understand certain issues, certain things, right? To talk to people that are difficult to find them, right? So that you'll have better news sources. For example, so kanang technology, like you said, is a way to assist us, di ba? Mutabang na to. So, kung dili ka pagamiton sa, let's just say, AI to write, right? To write about a certain topic, then mura kag matay down to that particular job, to that particular skill. But another way of looking at it, it actually opens you up to do more important things, right? There are more important things than just writing in media, right? I mean, it is important. But kung naay makasuwat para nimo, aren't you don't you feel excited? I have more time now to look for that guy that I've been looking for because murag ka siya katugyud mo gyud source a story, right? What are your thoughts on that? That technology allows you more time and gives you an opportunity to solve more important problems than simply writing.
Again, sir, kanang murag katong imong gi-explain is like you use the kanang AI as a tool. Pero di mo ka ma-replace unlike sa katong imong gingan nga calculator. Wala may expert or job nga ikitig calculate sa mga ingana. So dili siya.
What do you mean?
naa sa una guro.
Walay job nga unsa nga?
Kanang murag dili siya ingon nga mawala ni nga profession ingana ba nga like najitig ihap sa
na human computers before.
Yeah. For example, kanang cashier, di ba? Before, like, kung nga pa sila calculator, di ba? Ilagi nang 1, 2, di ba? Like, can you imagine if they didn't have a calculator, right? Imagine a cashier without a calculator. How difficult her job is, right?
Oh, pero wala man siya giilisan.
Nakatabang siya ang job.
Nakatabang siya.
I think mo na ang kuan dapat.
So naitabo karon is grabe naman kay ta ka daghan kay mga tools to help with the trade of trading kanang mag-require cashier, right? So daghan na kay ta gibaligya sa usak grocery, di ba? Tungod na siguro gamay ra kayo kay di man ta ka ba mo ihap or at least we cannot record everything, right? So karon daghan complicated na kay atong inventory systems, di ba? It has allowed us to sell thousands of products in one store, di ba? So because we have that to help us with the small jobs of calculating, di ba? So ang ato ang nabuhat is na improve ito nato og maayo ang trading, for example, because of the calculator, right?
And if mo heavily rely mo labi na journalist. So kung ako tag-yes company, di na lang ko mo hire nimo because AI can do that. So mao na diha nga line maabot na nga kanang issue nga kanang ang AI basin mo dominate na noon siya kay mura magkanang ma-question imong skills because AI can do this and then dili na kailangan
which is a possibility, right?
Unlike manggod sa if kanang mga anything AI nga maka-help lang okay ra guro, pero if it's something nga kanang guba na siya sa profession, nga na.
Nakuha na here before, nalimot ko asa kung nakadug ato sa student po to siya. Gi-ask yan na murag, unsay ka ng, kuha niya about AI, kay eventually man good, na mag big possibility na ang AI mo change yun sa mga jobs na naakaroon. Ang iyang gi-mention ato kay, dili man yun na malikyan na may possibility na mauna na ta. So as early as now, it's important daw na to make regulations for AI. Kaya para dili yun mawala, dili yun ma-obsolete ang human na work.
Nga naman di kung for example, kana lang field of writing for example, wala di kay mabuhat na di. Like for example, somebody can write for you the most compelling stories, right? Ikaw, katong akong example nimo, why don't you seek out you have time now to seek out the person that's hiding somewhere in the boondocks of Busay, right? For the story about the origin of this thing. Diba? Kasabot ka nga, there's always something to do, right? Dili mo gikamhot daw nagbuhaton nun, diba?
More siya open source new possibilities for you to explore.
Other things about your industry, diba? So don't look at it as a contra, as a they'll replace you. It'll allow you to do more important things, right? Because they're saying, you know, they're saying AI can solve cancer or climate change. You know, who in the future, ba? You know, the one person can't, you know, the smartest person in the world can't possibly process all of the literature about cancer, but AI can. When you know this entity can crunch all of the numbers of a X-ray result, right? Ang tao cannot remember millions of X-ray results, but AI can. Kasabot mo? So ang doktor siguro mangita na siglain nga mas importante pa siguro nga trabaho kung naa man gali mas importante ta. I think he'll be replaced if that's already the most important thing to do. End of story. Then the job is gone. Right?
Naging possibility, sir. In the future na murag katod yung mga job na kanang murag
balik-balik lagi.
Oo, like itong labi na like let's say journalism.
Yeah.
Nagi chance food. Pero dili man pud maka-prompt siguro sa AI, sir, if like dili ka mo seek out there o information.
Correct. That's why lagi ang trabaho nausab na lang.
Oo, nausab na lang.
Oh.
Evolve ra siya, wa siya yung nawala.
Gipangitaan okay lang mo adto na jud ka sa mga lalayo nga lugar para maka imo lang sulti nga ikon nga write a story about this and that. I went to a cave somewhere and seeked out this guy, blah, 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 and then you can just
use that. Gamitan pud nimo siya kay murag double check lang good always time if like gamit like basa lang good if like sakto ang itabi kay you know AI labi na karon dili siya accurate good. So
depende rin yun na sa company o simong boss. Kung mas ganahan sila og AI kay actually tinuod to yung ging ni Sir Gigi nga kanang ang syempre magkuha kag information ikaw man jud ang mo mangitag source or anything ya ang AI imura man siyang patabangon kanang saon para ma-write mahimo siyang article. So kung imo ang boss, kung ako ang boss, syempre keep ka. Dili sa ko mag-rely og kuan, pero kung ang boss kay mas thinking nako kay ganahan ko mas makatipid.
Feel na ko na if nang AI mo like mo change writing no kana mga journalists kay di na sila tawag ng writers, adventurers na.
Pwede. That's not a bad thing too, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yang hisgot ka nga maka-save, di ba? Ultimately, I don't know if we will ever overcome that nga kanang panginabuhi like money, like wealth, right? Grabe yung kinaka all powerful, all consuming, right? It allows us to that's what makes the world go round. In other words, kaning wealth, money, Di ba? So kung ang kanang agenda ha dili sa na ma-replace og something else, then the problem will continue and so on and so forth. Diba? Okay, wa pa man naka-replace siguro mo man ang giningon lang that's the greatest story ever told. Since we're talking about stories, the story of money, right? I mean, like you could have a different religious persuasion. You probably don't believe in this or that, but you believe in money. Tung tagaan kag dollar masig siguro matet pa lagi si Bin Laden lagi kuno masig tagaan mo dollar mo dawat na siya because he knows the value of money. So muna ang kuyawan nato nga basig ang the agenda we will never outgrow that agenda. So at the end of the day, it's about makasave. It's about making money. So the more we remove the payroll from the company, the more profitable it becomes, right? So peligro ba nga we will go down that rabbit hole, and what will become of most of us, we'll never know, right?
Man-driven na lang.
If ang like cost efficient siya when you say AI, but like practical siya, if ang AI makabot sa trabaho sa normal na tao, practical gyud siya. Pero
Magunsan na lang ta.
Bukutan lang gyud ta na. Pero sir, kung man gud if i-change example, ang tibok company kay AI na lang gyud siya. So, simply silbi ikaw ra ang owner, and ang imong talang trabahan di AI. Di ba na sad?
It is.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Alam mo sir, practical siya, but is it mentally okay para niyo muna anak ka na wa kay makita ang tao? Kay
Well, for you, like for example, if I'm the business owner, like you know, I'll make more money and I can do whatever I want with the money because money allows me to do everything, right? So, I mean, what's a person like that exists, you know, somebody who just is profit driven. Na may tao, people, there are entire nations whose mentality is like that, you know. So that's not an impossible. That's not a theory, right? That is a fact. Now, there are people who exist just for profit and profit alone.
Pero when it comes to like sir, commercial, ako lang po niya kasi since like
kung ikaw mismo,
mismo
dili ka masugot ana kung nakay po opportunity nga to make more money than you can ever dream of. But your company is as I love to say, a computer and a dog. The company of the future. Have you heard of that story? The future companies will be made of a computer and a dog. I'm sorry, a computer and a dog and a one person. The future companies para unsa man ang tao o iro o computer. Ang trabaho sa tao mupakaon sa iro. Ang trabaho sa iro bantayan ang tao nga di hilabtan ang computer. So that's the company of the future. So if you have that opportunity and you make ridiculous amounts of money, you can travel around not just the world but the universe because you have all the money in the world. Don't you want that too? Don't you want the power of your money to let you do whatever you want to, whatever your company is made of, whether it's made of 1,000 people or just a dog, a computer, and a person?
Ang sa ko lang Sir Gamerg, siguro nice gyud siya.
At first, guro no,
maganahan
ka.
Nani mo ang tanan ba? Lahala, maka-travel ko anywhere. But like, over time, that doesn't, diba? It becomes boring.
Yeah, but after the fact naka-realize na kang.
Naka-realize
so
na.
Don't you think we will get to that point nga, we will do that and then we realize this is not good, man. Like,
okay. Sir Gamerg, di man siya, parang ako, dili siya reality na ang imong everyday life exciting.
Dili siya reality.
If po exciting siya, di na siya makonsider as exciting kay
di na ka-appreciative.
Ni taas na imong standards ba? Abig sabihin mo sa everyday ka, let's say everyday ka internationally ka travel. At in the long run, it becomes boring. You have to go back po. Mo go down sa ka. Kay parang ang kato siya na high siya ibalik gyapon nimo.
Kibaw ko mangita jud kag problema.
Ito problem.
Problem solver.
We ngita gid problema gyud. We're really like a problem-seeking organism, right? So kung nindot na kay kinabuhi wa na kay labad bin ang uong tao, di ba? Namgi lain mag-apan ang tao, di ba? So labad kina. So kung wa nay tao nga imong bantayan, ana kay labad. So mangita na sa kaglabat. Oh.
Mo to gyud na ko yung book na basahan sir na before na ayan siya na ang katulagi ang kwarta lagi importante siya. If ka nang kuan ka pero ang problems never mo go away, mo evolve daw siya.
Correct, yeah. That's what we talked about. Nga, kung masulbad na ang mga big problems of the world, then mangita na sa tag problema nga atong i-magnify mo nang outrage ta kung naay kaning pimple patch nga heart shaped, right? Basig ma-cancel kasi mong pimple patch hindi ha, Christine, ha?
Anong
Kay
heart man na?
Nganong heart man na, di ba? Nya gugma sa imong amahan og sa to.
Romanticize.
Sa Ginoo. So, anong heart man imong represent ana? Sa man ang heart? Modern his heart. Have you seen a human heart?
Mula
Ha?
sa
Dili man na maoy porma sa heart, di ba?
Grabe na gina i-cancel pa na wrong shape imong
Yeah, but
heart.
what I'm saying is, I'm just giving you an example of what happens if a person has no real problems. Mangita lang problema sa pimple patch ni Christine, diya.
Mo beto na gyud na sir if wala do kala yung buhat sa kinabuhi, ang katong mga gagmay kinabutang himo ani mo problema.
Correct. And I think we should be aware of that. We should be aware of our human tendencies. Mo ni kapait na to. We know what to do. We know our tendencies. We know humanity, right? We know nga we have a capacity to do good and the capacity to do evil, right? We all know that. I mean,
Flex kayo.
but kibaut ana ba? So but still we act like every day is the same day. We wake up in the morning and expect the same thing to happen over and over and over again. But the thing is, like, daghan kayo mga surprises, and I think it's important to realize that tong daghan kayo surprises. You know, your democracy, your rights, your life is not guaranteed. You know, like you're lucky. Napatadri naghiskot-hiskot pa ta og mga unsa pa na mga butanga diha nga ang uban diha taon. Natay mga kaila nga wala wouldn't able to make it to today, di ba? Natay mga silingan nga wala na oportunidad nga makaginhawa, di ba? If you talk about other parts of the world na daghang kayong mga nangamatay karon sa gubat, di ba? So it's just, I think that's a very important way of looking at the world. It's really about perspective also, right? What do you think, Christine?
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
And are you excited to help us here in 105.1 TMC as interns of USC Media?
Very much excited.
Are
And
you going to do a show here with us? Huh?
Mang cloud chase me.
Huh? Oh, cloud.
Sa to'y goal,
Maging sikat. Maging artista.
money, charit.
Dili Kim Chu ka imong kang
I love one si Kim Chu man dito.
Labuan mo sa Kim Chu, di ba?
Yes.
Huh?
Of course.
Sige,
Kami ni Oliver.
Sige, so kung naamoy mga shout-outs o mga greetings and whatnots, just go ahead and say it now before I let you go. Go ahead.
Ala feel ko na minaw si Marlon karon.
Kinsa?
Among classmates sir. Hi na Marlon Addo, na listen siya karon.
Si Sheena o Cariza, kaila ka ng Sheena?
Wala.
Okay, anyway.
Ay, shout out ko sa akong family. Hello diha sa Pinamungahan.
Ako po sa auntie na naghatod na mo kaniha.
Thank you, tita. And shout out sa akong naghatod na ko.
Si Tita Kinsa man ni siya.
Akong akong auntie si Mami Joy.
Thank you, Tita Joy.
Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Christine and Oliver of USC Mass Communications, specializing in media. Hopefully they're going to be here. I hope your advisor will allow you to intern with us. And before I let you go, I'll play a song from your favorite artist, si Juan Carlos, nga matud pa nimo Tagaliluan. Tagaliluan ba to? Sakto ba? Liluan?
Liluan.
Ang akong ipatukar, okay ra nimo kung kasing-kasing. Okay ra? Kay naam kay kasing-kasing si imong naong. Ng imong pimple patch kay in a form of a kasing-kasing man. Here it is now. It's Juan Carlos versus Kyle Echari. Kaila kanin Kyle po?
Yes.
Nga?
Cebu.
Taga Cebu po na siya? Taga asa man ni siya?
Lahog daw, di ba?
Taga Lahog?
Pero mention to siya sa, di ko sure actually sir, but ka-mention siya kasi sa TikTok na, ano sa ba? Lahog.
Malapas ko.
Ay, ha?
Layo kay nang malapas ko og lahog, ha?
I'm not sure, pero
Base na sa
basta-
labay.
and then
basta
the voice
bisdak ni siya.
kids.
Basta bisdak ni silang duha.
Cebuanos.
Mga
Okay.
chuy.
Mga chuy.
Mm.
Mga chuy. Si Kyle og si Juan Carlos. Request ni Christine og ni Oliver. Daghang salamat ninyong duha.
Thank you po sir.
Namina mo sa pinaka-Subuanon nga radio station sa tanan. The most Cebu events, the most Cebu conversations,